That's our scripture this morning, John chapter 4. And we're going to go through verses 43 through 54. I'm going to read through those verses, and we're just going to walk through and do what we do as the Lord leads. Amen. John chapter 4, verses 43 through 54. I'm reading from the King James Version. It says, "Now after 2 days he departed thence and went into Galilee. For Jesus himself testified that a prophet hath no honor in his own country. Then, when he was come into Galilee, the Galileans received him, having seen all the things that he did at Jerusalem at the feast. For they also went unto the feast. So Jesus came again into Cana of Galilee, where he made the water wine. And there was a certain nobleman whose son was sick at Capernaum. When he heard that Jesus was come out of Judea into Galilee, he went unto him and besought him that he would come down and heal his son, for he was at the point of death. Then said Jesus unto him, Except ye see signs and wonders, ye will not believe. The nobleman said unto him, Sir, come down, ere my child die. And Jesus saith unto him, Go thy way, thy son liveth. And the man believed the word that Jesus had spoken unto him, and he went his way. And as he was now going down, his servants met him and told him, saying, Thy son liveth. Then inquired he of them the hour when he began to amend. And they said unto him, Yesterday, at the 7th hour, the fever left him. So the father knew that it was at that time, at that same hour, in which Jesus said unto him, Thy son liveth. And himself believed, and his whole house. And this is again the second miracle that Jesus did when he was come out of Judea into Galilee. So we have here Jesus has just returned to Cana, where he had already performed the miracle of the wine at the wedding, which was his first. So he left, and he's coming back through. The Galileans received him because they saw what he had done. They was a smart thing to do. Jesus, you see what Jesus did. You see what he's done. It's a smart. It's you just can't help but receive him. And there was a certain nobleman whose son was sick at Capernaum. And when he heard that Jesus was come out of Judea into Capernaum, verse 47, he went unto him and besought him that he would come down and heal his son, for he was at the point of death. See, put a pin there. We're coming up on the Resurrection and Ascension Sunday. Coming up on that. And that is the day that the event that gives Christianity significance, that makes it real, that sets it apart from every other religion or belief system that people might have, because we have a living Savior. We can actually celebrate his death because it wasn't final, because it wasn't permanent, because there's nothing on the other side of the dash, if you will, because his body lived 33 years, but the person who he is continues. Was before the body, was in the body, and then after the body was gone, he's still here. Still is. He's still I am. So we're coming up on the celebration of that time. And as he ascended into heaven, he's yet interceding for us, yet pleading on our behalf. The word tells us, Romans 1:17, that God's righteousness is revealed. It's from faith to faith. It says, the just shall live by faith. If we are the just, we're called to live by faith. And God is going to reveal himself. If we reveal himself, see, as God reveals himself, it builds our faith. And as we walk by faith, we see and learn more about God, who he is. The just shall live by faith. And as we're going from faith to faith. We're going from one dimension of faith to the next. Our faith is growing. God is building, strengthening, and adding to our faith. This nobleman's encounter with Jesus, to me, kind of encapsulates our walk with God. It exemplifies, if you will, our encounter with God as he draws us nigh unto him, as he shows himself deeper and deeper. So in verse 46, Jesus came again into Cana of Galilee, where he made the water wine. And there was a certain nobleman whose son was sick at Capernaum. Okay, so he knows either he was there at the wedding and saw, or he's at least at the bare minimum heard of what Jesus did at the wedding. This man turned water to wine. Mm-hmm. Not just regular wine. This was some good wine. It was better than the original, because at the weddings, people usually put the good stuff out first. And when they ran out, he brought out the wedding manager brought out better wine, because it was the wine that Jesus brought. But this miracle of the water to wine was in his thoughts, was in his mind, because his son was sick. Verse 47, when he heard that Jesus was come out of Judea into Galilee, he went unto him and besought him that he would come down and heal his son. He was in Capernaum. He came all the way from Capernaum to where Jesus was to ask Jesus to come all the way to Capernaum to heal his son. Mm-hmm. That's a certain level of faith right there. Mm-hmm. Saying that my son is sick, I've got this situation going on in my life. Let me go get Jesus and bring him back. Mm-hmm. So that my son can be healed. Mm-hmm. If it were just me, I'd be like, man, that's good. That's a good thing. That's a good thing. He's exercising. He's demonstrating faith right here. He said he knows where the answer is, and he's going to where the answer is. He's trying to bring the answer back to the problem and the situation, so that it can be resolved. But in verse 48, Jesus says unto him, except ye see signs and wonders, ye will not believe. Mm-hmm. The Jesus he knew of, he didn't know Jesus.
Right.
He didn't know Jesus. He might have been at the wedding. He might have seen, he might have tasted the wine, but he didn't know Jesus. He knew what Jesus could do, and he wanted what Jesus could do for his situation. Come to Capernaum and heal my son. Mm-hmm. I have a problem, and I need you to resolve that problem. Jesus said, unless you see signs and wonders, except ye see signs and wonders, ye will not believe. And the nobleman said unto him, sir, come down, or else my child will die. This is a dire situation. I need what you can do. I need your miracle working power, or else my son will die. There's a certain amount of faith in there, but God doesn't want him to have a certain amount. Jesus wants him past a certain amount of faith. Jesus doesn't want him to have confidence in the miracle worker. He's drawing on the power. He's drawing on the miracle. He's drawing on the situation. He's saying, come fix my situation. Jesus said unto him, Go thy way, thy son liveth. Verse 50. And the man believed the word that Jesus had spoken unto him, and he went his way. So he's brought to a new dimension now already of hearing about or seeing, watching the miracle and wanting the miracle power, wanting to bring the miracle power to the situation. He's being brought. Jesus says, your son shall live. So it takes another certain amount of faith to hear it and go and not beg anymore. Because he's already made his plea. He already asked him, says, can you come to Capernaum and heal my son? And Jesus says, unless you see a sign and wonder, you won't believe. Mm-hmm. But please come, because my son's going to die. Go, your son's going to live. So he now can believe what Jesus says. Mm-hmm. He's got to the point where he's gotten a little closer to Jesus. Mm-hmm. He knows a little bit more about Jesus. Jesus spoke and said, your son shall live. And that was good enough for him. And that was good enough for him. So he's gone from seeking the miracle worker to now hearing that his son is going to live. And now that's good enough. He's brought to that next dimension. That's good enough. What he heard and saw was good enough for him to go from Capernaum to where Jesus was. So it took faith to do that, to say, this is not wine. This is a physical body. It took faith to go there. And Jesus said, okay, unless you, and once he tells Jesus, once Jesus tells him, this certain nobleman, go, your son shall live, it takes us another certain amount of faith to receive that and go. So he's already gone from faith to faith. It's been built upon. It's been added to. It's been strengthened. Strengthened faith. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. Verse 51. And as he was going down, his servants met him and told him, saying, thy son liveth. It is interesting in the writing here that they use the exact same words Jesus did. Go thy way, thy son liveth. And when he's on his way back and he's not sure what he's going to find when he gets there, he doesn't know if he's going to get there and watch his son rise up. He doesn't know if he's going to get there and the son's going to be up already. He doesn't know what he's going to get. But before he can even get there to see his son, his servants have come on the way to tell him, thy son liveth. And if for me and my faith, I have to believe that they used the exact same words that Jesus did. Mm-hmm. Because as soon as they spoke those words in his heart, what Jesus spoke just leaped in his spirit. Leapt. Sorry. But there had to have been a spark. Mm-hmm. Thy son liveth. Mm-hmm. See? And that right there, boom. He's already at another level of faith because he knows Jesus spoke and it happened. Mm-hmm. And it happened. And now, verse 52, and he acquired of them the hour when he began to amend, when he began to get better, when he began to heal. Because he wants to know, because it's a trip from Capernaum to where Jesus was. It took some time. Mm-hmm. It might have been a day trip, it might have been, but whatever it was, from the moment Jesus spoke, there was time for it to happen and his servants to come and meet him before he got home. So Capernaum wasn't right there. He wasn't right around the corner. But in that time, his servants met him, saying, thy son liveth. And he acquired of them the hour when he began to amend. And he's kind of trying to figure out how it happened. Was it a gradual thing? Or was it bang? Or what? When exactly did it happen? And they said, yesterday the fever left him. Yesterday. So we've got a passing of a day.
Mm-hmm.
That's how far away he was. That at least a day's journey. Because overnight he's been traveling and his servants met him. And they tell him yesterday about the 7th hour. Verse 53. So the father knew that it was at that same hour in which Jesus saith unto him, thy son liveth. So he knows now that in the moment that Jesus spoke, his son was healed. In the moment that Jesus declared it, it was done. So he's at another level, another dimension of faith now. His faith is stronger. His faith has been added to. And because he's gone from knowing what Jesus can do, seeing and or experiencing, tasting the wine maybe, but he's gone from knowing what Jesus can do to his personal experience that Jesus is going to speak, that Jesus can speak into it. And then a day later, we learned that when Jesus speaks, it is done. So he's at a whole other level, a whole other dimension of faith. How do we know? How do we know? The very end of the verse, it says, and himself believed, and his whole household. And himself believed, and his whole household. The New Living Translation, when it comes to this account, verse 48, it says, unless you see signs and wonders, you will not believe in me.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the same, in verse 53, it says, and he believed in Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
And his whole household. So he had enough faith to come from Capernaum to where Jesus was to ask. He had more faith. His faith was added to and strengthened when Jesus spoke and said, go, your son is healed. It was added to all the more when his servants said, thy son liveth. It was added to. Then it was added to even and all the more when he inquired further and found out that it happened when Jesus said it was going to happen. So now he's gone up 3 dimensions. His faith, his knowledge of who Jesus is, he's gone from knowing what Jesus can do to now knowing who Jesus is. And there was nothing wrong with his faith. There was nothing lacking or deficient about his faith because he was exercising and practicing faith even by believing that if he goes from Capernaum to where Jesus was and brings Jesus back to Capernaum, that his son could be healed. So he's already at a level of faith. He's already demonstrating his faith, but Jesus did not want him at that level. Didn't want him to stay at that level. He says, you can know me more. You can know me better. You can know me. Go. Go. He showed that certain nobleman more about himself by speaking and sending him than he could have by accompanying him.
Mm-hmm.
See, we would think that Jesus would have to go demonstrate so the guy could see, but he'd already seen or at least heard that Jesus could do miracles.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't need that again. He needed that built upon. He needed that attitude. He needed that expanded and expounded upon. So he spoke and let that be confirmed in the man's life. That much more. Verse 53 again. So the father knew that it was at the same hour in which Jesus said unto him, thy son liveth, and himself believed, and his whole house. his whole house. So here we have it again, and yet another situation where a difficult time that somebody faced was for their good. That a hard time that they were going through, because he said, verse 49, sir, come down ere my child die. So his son was pretty sick. And this was a nobleman. Mm-hmm. He could have sent somebody to go get Jesus. Mm-hmm. He could have sent word. He could have sent messenger. He could have sent a fast dude on a fast horse or a run. He could have sent somebody. But the urgency was so great that he felt the need to go himself and petition Jesus on behalf of his ailing son. If his son never gets sick, he has no need to call upon Jesus.
Yeah.
He has no need to go to where Jesus is. Yeah. He heard that Jesus was coming. But if his son is sick, it would have been, oh, that miracle worker is passing through again. How nice. I remember the wine. Or I heard about the wine. I heard about that. But he would have drawn no closer to Jesus. He would have not gotten any. He would not have gained more faith. He would not have gained more knowledge. He wouldn't have gained a greater, deeper experience of Jesus, lest his son had gotten sick.
Yes, the need. Yes.
To the point of near death.
Yes.
So rather than sit where he was and lament and get mad about how sick his son was, he knew where the answer was. He didn't send a messenger because he could have, but he went to. He exercised the faith that it took to go to
Jesus. Yeah.
Jesus rewarded that faith with more faith. He rewarded that faith by adding to it. He rewarded that faith by strengthening it.
Yes.
Faith. Unless you believe that God is a rewarder of those that diligently seek him, did this man not diligently seek Jesus by coming from Capernaum to where Jesus was because of his sick son?
Yes.
What was his reward? His reward, in the end, yes, was a healed son, but his reward, greater than that, was a strengthened, added to, expounded, expanded faith. Because his son got sick. If his son never gets sick, his faith doesn't get built.
Yes.
If his son doesn't get sick, he hears about Jesus passing back through, and it's like, oh, that's nice. I wonder if he'll make more wine. I remember hearing about him, or I remember being at the wedding, and I remember that. Oh, how nice. But his faith never gets expanded. His faith never gets added to. His experience with Christ doesn't get deeper. He doesn't get closer to Christ. That's a mighty God. Savior, keeper, and friend. Savior, keeper, my friend. My strong tower. Think about every word in that song, and then think about this account. That man experienced all of that. He experienced all of that. Savior. My son is sick. Let me go find the Savior. Keeper. Your son shall live. Keeper. Guess what? Your son's alive. And it happened as soon as it happened at this hour. Friend spoke it, and it happened at that moment. The friend did it right now. The friend healed. The friend relieved his issue before he knew it was relieved. The friend solve his problem before he knew his problem was solved. The friend embraced him and loved him before he knew he was being embraced and loved. The friend showed himself and demonstrated himself before the man knew that the friend was showing himself and demonstrating himself. He believed. He had the faith to go. And when Jesus told him, go back, he had the faith to go back. And then when he heard that it had happened, he had the faith to find out exactly when.
Mm-hmm.
And then, when he found out exactly when, he had the faith to believe. He didn't just have the faith to believe, but he had the faith to go back and tell his household.
Mm-hmm.
Because his household had to know. His household had to know. His
Yeah.
household saw a sick son. His household saw the nobleman go to where Jesus was. And while the nobleman is gone, they see the son get up well. They thought he was going to die. Everybody had to have thought he was going to die. If the nobleman thought so, then everybody must have thought so. But while the nobleman has not yet returned, because they're waiting for him to bring Jesus back so that that son can get up. But while he's gone, the son gets up. Then the nobleman returns and says he's up and he's alive and he is well, because on the day that I inquired, Jesus said he's going to live, and that's why he got up when he got up. That's why I didn't have to be here. That's why Jesus didn't have to be here, because his power and who he was able to. And I'm sure that if any had asked who believes in Jesus, every hand up in there went up. Every hand in there went up. If he had done an altar call, everybody would have come forward. But I'm telling you what, unless his son got sick, unless his son got sick, he and his household would have gone on knowing about the miracle worker, knowing about the winemaker.
Just knowing.
Just knowing. Knowing about.
Mm-hmm.
Knowing, not knowing. Knowing, not knowing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
See, he might have even gone to the wedding and saw. But unless his son got sick, he would never have seen.
Yes.
Mhm.
That need. Yes.
He might have been at the wedding. He might have tasted the wine.
Yes.
But unless his son got sick, he would never have tasted the true wine.
Oh,
Okay.
He wouldn't have tasted the living water. Oh, taste and see that the Lord is good, right?
Yes.
Oh, taste and see that the Lord is good. See, we think tasting and seeing that the Lord is good is when we're kicked back with our feet up, eating grapes. See, that's when we think we're tasting God's goodness.
Yeah.
We're tasting God's goodness when the storm is raging
Yeah.
and we're bailing out a boat, but
Yeah.
that boat is not sinking.
Yeah.
We're tasting God's goodness when somebody's getting ready to push us into a furnace, but we can say, my God is able. We're
Yes.
tasting his goodness when we get thrown
Yes.
into the lion's den,
Yes,
and we're
yes,
able to
yes,
lay down
yes.
and get
Come on,
some sleep. Get some
Pastor.
sleep. That's when we're tasting
Yes.
God's goodness.
Mhm.
That's when we're tasting God's goodness. That's when we're experiencing his presence.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
When we're experiencing his presence. Because guess what? Yes, if he's with us in the green pastures, guess what?
Mm-hmm.
That's his goodness too.
That's good too.
That's good too.
Yeah, that's good.
But don't relegate it to just that.
Yeah,
When we're beside the still waters,
that's good too.
sipping in peace,
Yeah.
not worried about, guess what? That's his goodness too.
Yeah, but
When we're on that path of righteousness, and he's leading us by the hand for his name's sake,
that's good too.
that's good too.
Yes.
That's tasting his goodness.
Yeah.
And when we get in that valley of the shadow of death,
Whoa.
we are fearing no evil, but guess what? That's his goodness too.
Yes.
That's us tasting his goodness too. Woo!
Yeah.
His rod and his staff comforting us. Guess what?
That's
his
his
goodness
goodness.
too. Then when we get to the table, a feast prepared for us in the presence of our enemies, guess what? That's his goodness too.
Come on now.
That's his goodness too. And then he anoints our head with oil. I don't even have to say that that's his goodness.
That's good.
Our cup running over. Nothing's wasted because we're going to get what's for us.
Yeah.
And somebody's going to get what was also intended for us, but it was for them really. But it went into our cup. It had to go through our cup to get to them. Guess what? That's his goodness. That's us tasting his goodness. That's them tasting what? His goodness.
Yes, because of it. Yes.
His son, the nobleman's son, had to get sick so that his household could experience Jesus. The nobleman's son had to be on the verge of death, pulled back by Jesus so that they could see, so that they could taste and see that God is good. They heard about a winemaker, but they know a healer. They heard about a miracle worker, but they know a savior now. That's his son got sick.
Yes.
That's his son got sick.
Yes.
They wouldn't know. They wouldn't know who Jesus is. They wouldn't know. They wouldn't know. But guess what? And himself believed and his whole house.
Mm-hmm.
God is good.
All the time.
And all the time.
God is good.
God is good. Amen.
Yes, amen.
Every step of the way.
Mm-hmm.
Every step of the way. Yeah, we're in a place. We're in a place of faith. We're in a place where we're practicing. We're in a place where we're believing. But God is drawing us ever closer. He's drawing us nigh unto him. Yet nigh unto him. As close as we think we are to God, we can always get closer.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
As pressed into his bosom as we think we can be, we can always press closer.
That's closer. Thank you. Yes.
But sometimes it's an adversity that has to make us
Yes.
get closer. Sometimes.
Yes.
Because in the valley of the shadow of death, where we're fearing no evil, guess what? We're holding on tight. We're holding on tight. When the wind is blowing and trying to get us to release that cloak of righteousness, that to release that which is keeping us, trying to blow the armor off of us. He can't do it because we know. Knowing God, he wants us to know him. He wants us to know him. He wants us to experience him. But beyond knowing him, we have to know him. Beyond seeing him, we have to see him. Beyond tasting him, we have to taste him. Because that's what he wants. I've hidden your word in my heart that I might not sin against you. But what else is going in besides the word? Every experience.
Yes. Yes.
Every time he sees us through. Every time he puts us in those green pastures. Every time he puts us by that still water. Every time he leads us. All of that goes in. All of that. So that when our son gets sick, we know where the answer is. But see, what God gives us today, when we hear that Jesus is passing through somewhere, we don't have to go to Capernaum. We can call upon him right where we are.
Mm-hmm.
We call upon him from where we are, and he shows up.
Yes, he does. In a moment.
And El Shaddai shows up.
Mm-hmm.
And all sufficiency shows up. His grace, which is sufficient,
Mm-hmm.
shows up.
Yes.
The God of all things
Mm-hmm.
shows up. When we face all things, he gives us the ability to say, he gives us the ability to say, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Why? Because God is drawing us from faith to faith to faith to faith. And every dimension is closer, deeper, deeper into who he is.
Oh, yes.
Because we're not separated from him. We're not separated
Never.
from him.
Never.
We're resting in his wing. We are within his fortress. We're inside the walls of his tower. He's our buckler, our shield, our protector. We are right there.
Tower.
He's
Yes.
got us. And all we're doing is nudging closer,
Yes.
pressing in closer
Yes.
with every experience, with every good experience, with every bad experience, and every one in between.
Yes.
It should be drawing us closer to who He is. It should be drawing us closer to who He is. Every experience, if it's a good experience, God's squeezing us. If it's a bad experience, guess what? God's squeezing us. And whenever, good, bad, or indifferent, when we get squeezed, that word ought to be coming out. That word ought to be coming out.
Yes.
Psalm 105, where they're declaring the goodness of God.
Yes.
Psalm 105 is the psalmic account of the deliverance of the nation of Israel from Egypt's hand.
Mm-hmm.
That's what Psalm 105 is. But the person who didn't trust God would look at it and say, we had it good in Egypt.
Mm-hmm.
We had meals every day. We didn't have to worry about this. We didn't have to worry about that. We didn't. We're out here in the desert. We don't have. But the psalmic account says God was with us. God delivered us. God kept us. God sustained us. God maintained us. Our shoes didn't wear out. There was not a feeble among us.
Mm-hmm.
So He kept their clothes. He kept their health in that time. There was not feeble among us. It's a song of worship. It's a song of celebration. We got to celebrate who God is. Because of everything that He's done for us. Why He's doing it for us. Why He's allowing us to go through things. Because He's building and strengthening our faith. Drawing us yet nigh unto Him. Closer and closer. Deeper into who He is. That's God. That's a mighty God. That's El Shaddai. That's Jehovah. That's
Yes.
Abba Father. Amen.
Amen.
Come on, please.
Oh,